can be. He ditched his law degree for plugins that go zing. Now WooCommerce dances every time he pulls a string. Hey, evil genius, he's got a plugin for
all right.
tricks from.
Well, we're back, ladies and gentlemen. It is now Friday, August 7th, 2026. I'm Spencer Foreman, and welcome to the office hours. I successfully launched today without event and fanfare. Would you guys please do me a favor and check in on the volume? Sounds like it's good on my side. Today I come well prepared with a topic that should be easy to follow. I have a rather specific agenda today. As far as time, I'm going to be done well within the hour because I have a meeting this afternoon. A slightly lingering headache in my left occipital region. I'm not sure why. I didn't even have bourbon last night, but been extremely busy. And the things I want to talk about today are really just, what is your new world working with AI going to look like? Because now I have real world examples, both from my own experience as well as clients of all sizes, shapes, financial situations, experience levels. The reality of what's going on is worthy of a discussion today. So I'm going to cover that. If you guys could just say hi and let me know you're breathing out there. I can see you. Give me a quick chat. And then we can just jump right into it because I'm not going to hold back on you today. I have lots of stuff that I'm going to share. I'll do like I did last week where I can just drop it in, but it seems like the slideshow thing is working out. So I'm going to just set that up. Oh, this is interesting too. Huh. If I were to prepare my slides, apparently as a separate slide deck, it would give me a new option to do stuff. I haven't done that, but I'm going to do it the way I did last week, which is just share the screen and I have them in a window. And let's see if, I think that's pretty good. Let me know if you guys can read that. I think that's sufficient. If I go here, that's not bad either. I'm kind of small. I'll go with that option. All right, well, you guys are very quiet today, so I'm just going to carry on. Today, I'm going to talk about your new world working with AI. A typical day with Fernando and the MinuteLaunch stack. We're going to start with the tools first and the busy work last. Let's just talk about a typical day. Thank you, John. Thank you very much. I have to throw some quarters in the fountain today. A typical day. I don't know what your day is like, but for the last decade or more, a typical day for me is I get up, I go, oi, oh! No, after I do that, I'll put my coffee on. I will do my stretching, try to get grounded, maybe do some walking, touch the tree, depending on the weather, but just kind of get my vibe going. But one of the first things I will always do will be to try and avoid inbox chaos in my email. Sometimes I'll use my phone. A lot of times I'll just use my desktop, but eventually after I get my brain going and my body going, I go in email. And I don't know about you, I've used inbox zero method for a long time. That is to say, I literally try to keep my inbox at no emails. And with today's spam and otherwise, that's a challenge. But one of the things I'll show you is that we can keep that promise. We can keep the sanity using some of these tools. Next is that I would in the past use tools that didn't talk to each other, right? I would have my WordPress website or websites. I'd have the hosting company. I would have the Google Workplace. I would have Whimsical. I might have image creation tools like Canva. In other words, I have lots of work scattered about. And the common thread in all of that is that scattered about means Marie Kondo, before she had children, would be very upset because in my real world, and my kids get a kick out of this, I have memorized where every single tool is. For example, in our kitchen, facing the window is the sink. To the left of the sink is the dishwasher. To the left of the sink is the cabinet that has all of the utensils that we use, such as the kitchen scissors or the bag clips or the pizza cutter. If you turn around, there's the stove. To the left of the stove is where we have the chopsticks, the tatami mats, the big spoons and stuff. In other words, I have memorized in my head as I sit here every tool in the kitchen. I know where all my things are in the bathroom, etc. When your workspace has a million tools and you create content in a million places, it's not just inefficient for you, it's inefficient for everybody. Think about like when you're doing WordPress sites and you create a logo and you use it in 7 different places and you've got 7 different copies of that same logo. How inefficient is it when you try to update the logo? You have to go back and find all of those little Easter eggs. And most importantly, last night was a good example of it. This morning, I don't know why it's not raining, but I wake up with this like sort of low grade headache, right? Like, I think I just had too much computer time maybe last night. But last night I was working. I went to bed about 11:30. If you're not sure what you finished that day, the next morning the cycle starts over and you start with like trying to trace it down. Wouldn't it be awesome, and it is already, that you could just have that certainty without having to worry about how you started and ended your day? So imagine with the new setup, you've got one site which acts as your hub, or John Luller has only 11,266 messages in his box. I'm going to share my email box to show you guys some of the things I've done. And it's surprisingly easy to keep track of this, but the tricks are real to get out of that hole. Fernando, your LLM agentic assistant. I've heard some great names, by the way, from our family here. So we've got Daphne, we've got Partner, we've got Junior. I think we had Cassandra. I don't know what you call your agentic partner, but I call mine Fernando. Good morning, Lloyd. John, what do you call your agentic partner? Lloyd, what do you call yours if you have a different name? So Fernando opens the day, and it is not true. He doesn't have every day with a plan, but he does have the ability to know exactly where I'm at using the same capabilities. And I have started to use that more and more, because where we're going with this is Spence or you is going to have hopefully one of these little nice headsets, or basically an earpiece or your eyeglasses, and you will be able to start your day while you're stretching with Fernando or Daphne or whomever, arranging what you're going to do for the day. And that's not a pipe dream anymore. That's a reality. The only difference is that I oftentimes don't look into my phone for this. I just come to my desktop. Good morning, Allie. Right. I got to admit, that's also a stress to me too. I'm a Scorpio and I like things neat. Now, so here's an example from my personal life. My kids are very neat. I really love the fact that they followed in my footsteps. They have their own version of this. But my middle son, Jack, who's just like immaculate in that regard. One day we were working in the kitchen and he used the scissors and he put them in the other drawer. He put them across the aisle. And I opened the drawer and I had to kind of like control my urges. I'm like, I'm stressing out, man. Where's the scissors? So I very nicely asked him, I'm like, hey, Jack, have you seen the kitchen scissors? And he kind of knows me. So he was provoking me a little, like, he was trying to trigger me. He's like, I don't know, Dad, where do you think the scissors are? He knew he had put them in the other drawer. But like, I'm like, do me a favor, man. I raised you guys by myself. I got through all this drama because I organized my life. Just put it in the same drawer so that I know where it's at. That's what keeps me sane. Good morning, Claude. Would you guys, by the way, Allie, John, Lloyd, Claude, anybody else watch it? Put in the name. What do you call your assistant, if not Fernando? So what's happening is we're using WordPress as the source. We're taking a free ride through the MinuteLaunch system of allowing any and all of your agentic tools to work in concert of agreement to organize your stuff, keep track of your things, and they put all of the scissors back in the right drawer, which is inside of your WordPress site. And I'm going to show you this in action. Everything from creating imagery to publishing pages, to doing logistical work, to doing videos. I won't tell your wife, John, that you call your AI assistant honey. And what this means is that your contents, your clients, your cash flow, all live in the same spot. They're in a box that's connected to GitHub for backup, connected to your desktop or desktops for synchronicity, can be used everywhere, anywhere. But having that one setup, it's like Zen, just magic. Okay. She knows. John, by the way, John was there when the Beatles were filming Let It Be on the rooftop. So I just want you to know, John is old school as they come. So I trust that he knows that she knows, and they're good. Typical setup. Fernando or Honey or whomever sets the plan. Now, I'm referring here to Coach because Coach has been sort of quiet lately. Coach, what ultimately is going to happen, MinuteLaunch Coach decidedly took a back seat to MinuteLaunch Lab for all of the functional hardcore work, or to connecting, your remote desktop or your browser-based Claude and so forth. Coach's comeback is going to be because under the hood, he already was set up for voice and other things. And so to that extent, Coach is making a comeback when we do the voice activation, because he's going to be, I'm really excited about this. We have all the data that he needs in the site of your business. He's going to be able to have like Tony Stark Jarvis stuff, right? Like Jarvis. My dream is this is going to be Spence and Fernando. I look a little older than that now. I think it's Mark. Hi, Mark. Good morning. You can call your tool whatever you want to call them. So this is how you do it. When I'm going to show you guys how to connect to Claude, but Mark's question is a good one. If this is Mark, I think it's Mark, right? And that's one of the other teams there. So if I go to Claude, he knows that I call him Fernando because he's got memories built into this. The suggestion I have for you is you can either go into your permanent settings, in which you go here, settings, and you can set up capabilities and skills permanently. Skills. Oh, they moved it now to customize. You can go ahead and set up skills here where you can just literally add a skill and you say, hey, your name is Honey. Oh, good. Good morning, Mark. Or what I do is this. I'm lazy. Okay, so what I do is I just get out of this menu and I go over here and I say, hey, Fernando, it's Spence. I'm doing a live show, the Friday show, as you know. And there was a question, a good one, about how do I rename you? You know I call you Fernando. Do you have a suggestion for my audience about if you're using Claude either in the desktop or browser, either with Claude Chat, Cowork, or Code? What's the best way to give you a new name that you'll remember to talk to you with? Like, instead of calling you Fernando, if I wanted to call you Honey. I'm just joking about that, but just tell us what's the best way to do it. So I know for a fact that all we need to do is just go in there and you tell, I'm using, by the way, Opus. You could use Fable. Any of the modern models are smart enough to understand this is how to do it. And it's really easy that way. And so also, I'm going to show you guys in a second connecting live with your site. In fact, Mark, it's great you're here because this was something we were scheduled to talk about anyway. I'll do it with a demo site. He's asking around, but the fact is that it will work. So if we go and do that, I'm going to just move on to the next point and come back to this because I know it works, because that's when I talk. You guys have seen me in all the shows. I say, hey, Fernando, and he starts going, bueno, jefe, and we start talking in Spanish. So as he's talking about, click your initials, go to settings, go to profile. There's a text field for instructions, preferences for any conversation. But honestly, this is just overkill. Just say its name. All right. No. Don't respond to Honey. Your name is Fernando, okay? Bueno. ¿Entiendas? And he'll speak back to me in Spanish because he knows that we're on that. Okay, right. All right, so next, and I'll do the setup in a second. The free Fernando, who's inside of your site when you use the MinuteLaunch plugin, is already wired in to understanding all of the WordPress ecosystem as well as all of the tools in the MinuteLaunch system. So even for a free client, if you wanted to set up something, and we've demonstrated this before, you can just go ahead and put in the MinuteLaunch plugin manager and start talking to Fernando, and he rocks and rolls. So let's actually do this here real quick, because I think I already have one set up that I was using last week. That's a free site. I just made this one Darling Mamba, which I don't have any idea what that means. It's just a placeholder. I had installed the free MinuteLaunch plugin so that you guys could see last week how quick it is to just set up, and ironically, how easy it is to set up Claude to connect to it. So I just uploaded the one free plugin that you get from MinuteLaunch.com. When we go here, you will see that it's actually not got any of, hopefully none of the software yet. I'm going to make this window just slightly bigger. Okay, notice there's no software installed. It's just free. If I go and click on Fernando here, or the Get Started guide, he's actually live talking to Open Router free. So if I use the built-in mic, allow while visiting. Hey, good morning, Fernando. It's Spence. What's the time and date? I want to see if you're connected. This is an amazing way to immediately start getting stuff going on. Now, I wouldn't recommend using this as your day-to-day driver, but this is a free LLM that teaches you anything you need to know about WordPress or can do basic work. So look, he's already got the capability of doing the media library, past chats, skills, how to build a website. I mean, he's pretty damn good being free, but he's kind of mental compared to the capabilities of using the full guy, which is why I've got built in here the suggestion that you upgrade and, you know, have an account where you get the full features. But this is a nice way to get started. What we discovered, and I'm going to show you now, is that you can even use the remote Claude to connect to this site and manage instantly. Watch this. So, and for Mark, this is where we were going to go with you. You simply go under Plugin Manager, connect your agent. You'll notice that we have previously used this. We have other connection bundle keys, but I've got a bundle generator. Just click this orange button and click to copy that button that says copy connection bundle. Then go here to Claude. Let's start a new chat. I highly recommend creating a project. Now I'm working inside of Claude with chat. I can go into co-work if I'm going to do asynchronous tasks. So the difference between chat and co-work is geared up to be like, leave some instructions, come back later. Either way, it'll work. You need to make sure that if you're in your Claude, you first go to settings, capabilities, and scroll down to this one thing called allow network egress. Make sure it's on and make it that all domains work. Otherwise, he will not allow you to connect remotely. He'll be like, sorry, dude, that's not safe. Okay, now that I'm here, I'm going to actually make a project too. We're going to call this office hours. The reason to do this project is make a project that represents the entire website. So Mark is working with myself and Stuart Hoover, Rizona Health, right? Rizona Health is the name of the project because let's say that's the website it's connected. Now I simply paste what I had copied and I don't have to say or do anything else. Make sure you're in Opus or Fable. I don't think I would work with Sonnet or Haiku. Those are kind of like lower grade intelligence for what you're capable of. So he'll give it a second of thought. And if he gives you any resistance at all, which he's lately not been doing, just give him pushback. Says, I need you to do some work on my website. And that's all it takes for him to say, okay, I'll close this window to make it easier to see what he's doing. But this is how we get connected for starting our day, and some remarkable stuff will happen. Notice this little toggle here where it says manual. If I trust him, I can be like, dude, skip all the approvals, automatically approve. That gives him autonomy, but I would first get set up to make sure you're comfortable with what the capabilities are. Also notice that you've got these tools that you can connect, which is where the amazing part happens. See, I've got connectors to Canva, Gmail, Calendar, Drive, Higgsfield. I've got him connected through the capabilities of Anthropic, who has all these things built to do just about everything anywhere. So now he's working for me. He's got all the tools. He can read my email, make videos and stuff, and he's connected to my site. You get it? Okay. He right now does not have anything in the MinuteLaunch lab. He's smart enough to know that this is a free install. It doesn't have the lab tool because this is not a paid setup. If paid the $97, you'd get the other 23 tools from me. But for this purpose, it doesn't matter because I could say something like, okay, awesome, Fernando, let's do this. I know you're connected to the free plugin and you have very limited tools from me, but you do have the capability of publishing and sharing and doing work for me. So let's do two things. First of all, can you read my email from this morning and see whether or not I sent out any emails about office hours? Check my Gmail for help at WP-Launchify. Imagine if you started your day and he could read all your email, which is one way, and he could just tell you what's important. I mean, I know this sounds like ridiculous, but it really makes a difference. Okay, so Hal, Clyde, Lloyd, be free. I like it. Trekkie sounds good. Commander, whatever. So he can search my email threads for anything about today's email. Now, truthfully, there's probably no email in there from help at Launchify because it goes through another email. But I'm just going to ask him for some piece of information. He's able to search there, and then he can act upon that directly, but he can also memorialize that back at the site. And what do I mean? Everything that he is doing is memorialized inside of the workspace, which is really, really important. So if we have connected an agent and work is being done, the AI usage will be showing up here. It'll be synchronized, which is really a big deal. That's important when you're using the core tools because everything you do in your remote Claude is synchronized with everything that happens here. Now, the reason that this isn't actually doing it in this case is because we're in the free version. You need the higher level tools, the paid tools, but I'll show you what I mean. If I go over here to MinuteLaunch, I'll show you what that looks like. If I've been using the tools, there will be workspace history here. Every single thing you've done with any of your remote tools or otherwise is memorialized, and it shows who's doing what, when, where, and why, right? So here I've got the cursor, I've got MinuteLaunch Lab, I've got, this is a remote developer tool that I'm using. All of these are available for me to preview and see what was done. It's saving that entire history in the kitchen drawer next to the dishwasher. So that if I go back here and I talk to this guy and I say, hey, what's been going on with Claude? What's he doing? How's he working? He not only has like histories of actual files created and releases, but he knows every chat, every interaction, okay? So we're gonna come back to the email question. Let's, priorities. So besides connecting and synchronizing in the free connection, you've got the ability to create and manage pages, plugins, posts, clients, people in the CRM. Like in the case of with the pro version where I've got a CRM connected, I've got FluentCRM, and this is connected not only with my contacts in general, but the contacts have all their information about everything we've done with them. What they bought, what they've interacted with, email conversations. And so this tool in the same kitchen drawer is available for understanding your complete business. Now, Mark has a very successful business and I'm helping him. Let's say there's 25 to 30,000 people that have a buying history in there and we're marketing to them. It's absolutely imperative that we're able to understand every move that's made by any of the Fernando agents, wherever they are, with those customers and have a unified front that the human beings can also interact with. So when we're talking about starting your day or what's going on, if I have one of the agents working and he's saying to me, no, nothing about the office hours went out. He kind of knows it's Spencer Foreman. That's what I said. So he says, look, I sent mail, office hours, he knows what's going on. He's like, you just got a bunch of junk in there. Okay. I can have him use my email to create a draft. Good morning, Julie. Viva Las Vegas. Hopefully. Julie's in Vegas this week. Hopefully, I can have him create drafts ready for me to advise. Now, he's got a safety mechanism built in by Anthropic that with that connector, he's not allowed to send. I think that's probably a good idea, but he can create the drafts. But what I do is I have him make similar things just for me, either copy paste or put in there. For example, make a WP Launchify formatted email that says, welcome everybody to office hours, signed Fernando, Spence's AI assistant, and show it to me in the browser so I can copy and paste it to Gmail. So I can either have him respond to emails for me and using a formatted skill, like the WP Launchify email is a skill I just showed him once, worked with him. You guys have all received these emails from me, especially you, Mark, where he is responding to me either directly as a draft or I'm copying and pasting it. Either way, it's just about the same amount of work. And I'm going to show you while he's doing that, I'm going to reveal the kimono on my mail.google. I don't think I'm going to reveal too much here. So here's the lab secrets. Let's switch over to WP Launchify. And I'm proud of the fact that I don't think I'm at inbox 0, but I'm not at inbox 12,500. Okay, so I think today I have 9 emails, maybe a few archived. I'm going to share with you not only what I do for outbound, but I want to show you how I do the organization stuff. So notice what he created for me. This can be done automatically inside the lab with the MinuteLaunch lab in Fernando, but if you're using Cursor or Claude in this case, which I love, this is even better. So all I do is I just copy this because I'm reading it anyway to make sure, and then I just create a new thing and I'll send it to myself. I'll just go to, Spencer at Spencer Foreman. Well, I'll send it to myself. Yeah, Spencer at Spencer Foreman. I go, update is welcome to office hours. Now, notice what's neat is that he's got a skill to give me what copy pastes really beautifully. It's really attractive. If you receive these emails, hopefully you feel the same. This is not your typical email, but it's made to work in Gmail and still look awesome. I could also send it out using the MinuteLaunch mail. I'll show you in a second, without having to have any interaction. But I'll typically do this. I'll send this out. So imagine for a pause, I start my day. Hey, Fernando, what's going on? What's important? What am I doing? Let's clean up the email box. Give me the list of things I need to do and how I need to do them. Now, he can do that with Gmail. He can do it with MinuteLaunch Mail to create responses. MinuteLaunch Mail's here. So if I did the MinuteLaunch Mail version of this, I simply go to Compose and I could say who it's to, like Kathleen, or add somebody directly to the box at the time. In other words, I can add a new contact here while I'm adding them in. And then I give him, in this case, either the preview or the HTML version of what I want to have happen, and magic ensues, right? So in other words, it allows me the capabilities of using any of the tools that are available to me, in this case, like plain rich text. And I can send it out to somebody who's already in this site as a CRM contact, like Kathleen or whomever. When I send it this way, it automatically goes out and there's a CC to my regular email box, but it also, most importantly, gets associated in the FluentCRM to that contact. So if I'm marketing to the person, I'm doing customer support for the person, I'm just emailing directly, that person has a contact that has, I don't know if it has it because I didn't send it, but has the whole conversational history kept track of in the CRM, which is, again, kitchen drawer, has all the things I need exactly where I want it for any of my businesses, remote or not. All right. Let's look at a different tool when we're in the email box. Now, I use Gmail with Google Workspace, or I use Agentic Mail, which I've now set up inside of MinuteLaunch for free. I use Brevo or similar for marketing. There's tools like this. Inside of my Gmail is a task list. Notice there's a bunch of nonsense stuff here that I could have made. There is a Chrome extension that works really well if you want for managing your Gmail box. So if one of your hangups is like, John, you got 12,000 emails, simply go to Gmail in the browser and use the Chrome extension, which is this little doodad here for Claude. When you do this, you can use whichever guy you want, 4.85, whatever, and you can give it instructions about act without asking or whatever. And you could say, I want you to clean up my email box. What I had to do for me the other day was read all my email and figure out which things were solicitations, which were not, and then get rid of things in the archive, but then make a list of the things I had to do using the task list. It was really super easy. I'll just do a quick one here because real quick, just check my email in the inbox and tell me, is there anything I have to respond to right now? And which things can I archive right away? Okay. So I have set this to act without asking because I'm not super precious about my email. I have different ways to get back to it, but it's just Nathan Wrigley, a pal of mine, is doing a new thing. He's asking for help. The Zoom calendar thread, I've got a call today after the show, which was I got to end early or end reasonable. Rocket.net support. Okay. This is the stuff. And now he's saying nothing really requires an immediate response, safe to archive, right? So there's a bunch of newsletters. I have a tool built into MinuteLaunch called MinuteLaunch Research, which is right here. This is where I save all of the cool stuff, so I'll always have it available to Fernando for future reference. I have taken the key from this site, the package bundle, and connected it in the very same way to my extension, my Chrome extension, so that he or it can take anything that's relevant from the newsletters and save them for me to read later or to be used by Fernando. So this is what I mean. If I go here, I say, are you still connected with my MinuteLaunch research on MinuteLaunch.com so you can grab any relevant links and save them for me to use later as a research topic? So what I'm saying is he can be a librarian or an archivist, read what's relevant. One of my stresses is that, it's interesting. What he's saying is he's actually moment by moment because he's in the browser versus Fernando himself can use the same thing. The reason that I would do this would be I get stressed out when I look at things like, I love Sahil Bloom. I love Ryan Lee, TechZip newsletter. Maybe there's 3, 4, 5 stories in here that I need. I'm stressing. So what I can do is I can take MinuteLaunch where I've got the research tool and I can simply grab from the settings, the individual key, or I can get the whole connection bundle. It makes no difference. Notice I've got the API capture URL and the drop page, right? I've got keys set up to do this automatically, but if I just wanted to give this guy what he needs, all I got to do is this. I just copy this and I'll just say to him, don't publish it, don't save it, but use this. Don't publish or save, but use this to grab from the TechZip newsletter any important topics and save them in my research at MinuteLaunch.com. Okay, and I just paste it in. And as long as you tell them don't publish, don't share, it's fine. They've allowed this flexibility now. So what I've given him is a tool that allows him the capability of reading and extracting, making the entries in my newsletter. He's working for me instead of the other way around. Okay, if you guys are following, we'll come back and see what he's up to. He's got the key. Here's what he's saying. ByteDance, Alibaba. I'm just going to tell him, I don't know if he's asking, want me to go ahead. I'm going to say, yep, go ahead and send this compiled research to MinuteLaunch. And then the other stuff, can you just clean up and put in the archived? Leave those other 3 items for me to read, but clean up my inbox. Okay, so imagine that we're doing this, and with Coach, very soon, I'll be just doing my bike in the morning, walk on the beach. If I had a beach right now, I have a beach over on Lake Michigan, doing exercise. I could just be talking like Tony Stark to Jarvis, and he'll be taking care of doing this stuff for me instead of him just doing it this way, which this is the kind of stuff that you can do verbally, okay? So he's cleaning it up, and when he's done, you'll see the result of it. But I'm going to go on to the slideshow here. Okay, so browsing, browser tool, desktop tool, MinuteLaunch. We can connect to your favorite tool with your favorite LLM driving it in the website with MinuteLaunch, in a browser, either through a browser tab or through a Chrome extension, or on the desktop using a downloadable desktop tool from Anthropic or an agnostic one like we have Cursor or Goose or Open Code, etc. Doesn't make a difference. The car is the vehicle that we're using. The driver is the LLM of choice. Is it Opus, Haiku, Sonnet? Is it ChatGPT? Is it lately Kimi? Is it DeepSeek? Is it whatever? So we've got from free up to, holy cow, I can't believe how much that costs as drivers. And they can use any of the tools because it all connects to the kitchen drawer, the box that you own and control with your whole business in it, that thankfully nobody can take away from you on MinuteLaunch. The lab is my personal pièce de résistance of doing this, because this allows in the site a great degree of control. So if we go to MinuteLaunch here, the MinuteLaunch lab turns out now to be, in this latest version, the workhorse that competes with what you would do in any kind of other tool. In fact, I would suggest it has some advantages, including a couple tools I'll show you. First of all, it has the typical metaphor of projects. So you can create any number of projects and then toggle it away. You can rename them. But it also has, for the Gen Xers of the crowd or boomers, we've got, like, you can crank up the relative font to see stuff, okay, which is helpful. You have the ability to use the canvas. The canvas is where all of your goodies go that he is working with you on. So if it's something that's HTML, it will show in that way. And this whole drawer is both extendable, and you can hide this, but you can also use this to save and share and pop it out. So if, for example, I'm going to go into a new tab. If I want to see this thing that I'm working on, he's really powerful for doing private or team-related business. Stuart and I are working with Mark. If we want to create stuff for Mark and his team otherwise to share, we don't want it published as a page. We want it inside of the space where we can control who has access to it and who is sharing to it. But this also means that Fernando on any tool is capable of seeing this content and using the content and collaborating with the content. More importantly, when I close the canvas, these chats have access to all of my data from all of the other plugins. So for example, if I made a new project called Newsletter Research, and I know this is a little small, forgive me, and I can start in chat, I can choose which driver to use. I can set the price on this as saying, as I have, I only want to allow up to $18 priced tools. So I go to AI usage and I open that up and I say, set a cap of $18. That's the maximum out of all of the tools that range from free to $60 round trip. $18 is my limit on the Uber driver. Okay. And if I set it to auto and I've got that in place, I can just leave it there, or I can specify I'd like to use DeepSeek or Claude, Sonnet, whatever you want to do. Background task, I've got also how much money's in the bank for paying for my ride. And I can say something like this. Look at the MinuteLaunch research from today, the entries, and write a summary of what was the most important thing that happened in the news today based upon those articles that were just saved. Okay. I'm saying you've got data in the box that the outside guy just helped me organize for my email and curated. And I want you to use the knowledge that I just told you is available to come up with a report to me. And then he could do something with it. He could write a page, a post. He could do it for analyzing for a customer or a client. He can use it for creating a new product. Any of those things are possible. So he's given me the information here, which I could open up. ByteDance's major AI investment. Okay. do an email in MinuteLaunch, do a WP Launchify style email in HTML for me. That's a quick summary, like a bullet list that goes out to my audience that says, hey guys, it's Spence. Here's the most important stories today, and give links to the original stories in those. Just put 2 or 3 of them and sign it Fernando. Okay. So again, imagine you're in the car, you're on the beach, you're doing whatever. I guarantee you, you're not going to be sitting in front of the computer very much longer, because he's going to just be speaking to you. Like when I started law, I used to have an assistant, a secretary. It was forced on me because even though I typed 300 words a minute, the law firm just had secretaries and stuff. I'd talk on the phone while I was my giant phone from the train. This is what I need done. So when I get in the office, it's done. This is how it's going to be. This is going to be your typical day. So he's going to make this, and then back to what we just started before. I could have it as an email. I could have him publish it as a product, a project, whatever. Here's the new thing, right? And I'm not going to bother doing it, but he could literally just send this over to the MinuteLaunch mail or put it in the FluentCRM, and ta-da, I've just created a newsletter this morning. I could turn this into a task so that anytime I say create a newsletter, it just rinses and repeats. The lab has a bunch of other stuff in there, but it allows revisions and safe rollbacks. I didn't show you, but like notice here, releases. Anytime I have them do any kind of software coding, all of the files that are created are safe workspace saved here. He has the ability to memorize prompts, like things that I do all the time. He can share this with any team member, inside or outside. Everything that's done here that's created is also saved in a chat history. The entire context is available for awesome saving, sharing, repurpose. You cannot lose what is permanently saved. And by the way, pushed up to GitHub. So I'm using here the MinuteLaunch desktop, which allows me to synchronize this site not only to my desktop, my local computer, by just automatically or clicking a button, but it's also being sent up to GitHub, where it is being saved and stored in the cloud. Everything I'm doing is for you too. If you're my client, most of you guys are in that position. All your stuff is being synchronized in multiple spots. So if I were to lose all of my stuff, my laptop fell out of an airplane and I got hit on the head and I couldn't log into my desktop or anything, I could go back, and GitHub has all my stuff. The website has all my stuff. There is a continuity of ownership that I just cannot get away from, but it's private, it's protected. And this allows me to ship today. So for example, I have some calls that I have to go to today for demonstrating work for clients. All of the stuff that we've created has been set up by Fernando for the clients and myself to have an agenda. And in doing so, I don't have to remember where it's all at, because Fernando has created an agenda. Many of you have seen this. Here's the agenda today. It's a page that says, this is what we're going to do. And it refers to the things inside of the very same site. All right. So I mentioned here Workspace and ML Desktop and GitHub, which gives us this desktop to website to GitHub continuity. The image editor, the social posting, MinuteLaunch persona, which by the way, Claude, we've released the Kraken. We have actually released MinuteLaunch persona. You will be happy to know. You guys will have to work with the setup and so forth, but if you go into settings and you go down here, you will need to go get your top view and your 11 labs, your open router, and your Rendy key, which I'll do in another show. Put those in and you can start doing some crazy, amazing stuff as of today, which is 3 Fridays overdue, but man, oh man, this thing required a lot of work to get where it's at. And I'm really proud of what it does, but it's going to be even better. So if we go back over here, image editor, MinuteLaunch social, MinuteLaunch persona, canvas for building the pages and content for public use. This is crazy town awesome. I use this every single day, and I use it from whichever way I want. So for example, I could go into MinuteLaunch image editor, where I was this morning, and I've built special tools for the media library, which you'll see in a second. I can get to the media library right from here, And the special tools I've built is like these up here. See where it says fit off, titles off, modal view off. It was super annoying to me. And I'm also going to hide the notices. It was super annoying to me in the standard WordPress space that like I had so little control over the way things looked and felt. So I just built the tools in here to make it easier for me, make it easier for you. Watch this. The fit off, titles off. Okay. In standard view, and I'm looking at WordPress stuff, I've just got thumbnails and it's like, come on, man, this is crazy. First of all, let's turn on the fit and let's go into thumbnail mode. Let's turn, notice titles on, titles off, fit is on. So the titles go away. And then modal view, this allows me to browse images the way I like to browse stuff, which is like this, right? And if I want to use a picture or edit a picture, I can simply click on it. Like here's Fernando, open details. So the tools are there to make it easier. Next, as I've this tab view of AI image editor, and I can say, use this reference image and show him with his eyes open and remove the words and have him smoking a cigar. Okay, generate now. Imagine how easy it would be if you could do the same thing for all of your stuff, your client stuff, your production stuff. And then these images can also be used as a reference source for your videos, your social posting, your creation of blogs, marketing, as we're doing. But you have full control over this. So this is pretty awesome. Now imagine I take this image and I want to do more stuff to it. I can continue editing it, or I can use this as a reference when I go back because I refresh the page and now it's in my media library where I can use the tools to organize it further, but I can also share this with my outside dude, right? So if I open up this one, I can just copy the details of this and I can give it to my outside guy. I'm gonna, by the way, he's got his letter here. I'm gonna say, hey, listen, I know I didn't connect you to MinuteLaunch, but I was demonstrating some cool stuff with regard to how we're doing image editor. Here's an image from there. Modify my email and add in this picture of Fernando and send it in there. So the idea is he could talk and figure out what that image is and grab it if he was connected, but I can also just take it from there because it's hosted on a CDN public link, give it to him and he can put it in there. You see, when you've got a hub where all your stuff is CDN enabled and you can control access publicly or not, one site can be the hub of everything you do. And to that effect, if we went over here and we look inside of Media Hub P2P, I've even made it possible that you can bundle this and use it with your customers. So if Mark or any of you guys are on that page, let's say you had a bunch of content that you wanted to create and save or share for a particular use, free or paid, you could go over here to Media Hub and you go to sharing and selling, and you can then generate bundles or collections based upon searching for specific things or based upon taxonomy, right? So I can have categories to grant access to various things, or I can just do it per image. I could take bundle of Fernando images, put a price on it, make a product name, sell it, or I could just share it, or I can just create a collection which allows me to choose which images and then give them to my public audience in a way that's helpful for them, right? I can also use this tool for finding new images as the basis of like making new stuff, all right? So let's see what he did. And notice what's interesting too. Notice he can't show embedded images in this preview here. But what we can do is a couple things. First of all is we could just copy what's here and paste it, HTML. Because this is created in such a way, it's universal. In other words, if I went over to MinuteLaunch or my other free site and I just said create a new page, add new page, whatever he creates universally is available. This is a remarkable difference from when you're using page builders. Many of you are or have been, where this is crazy town. So I go MinuteLaunch canvas block, paste it in, preview, and ta-da, it's all good to go, ready to publish, ready to share. So by using HTML and CSS natively, We've got this capacity for any agent anywhere to make stuff. There's just a small limit when you're in the browser that this tool that Anthropic uses doesn't show inline images. I'm not sure why. It seems like that's a little antiquated, but that was the legacy. Growing your list using the tools we have for MinuteLaunch Prospect or the FluentCRM, MinuteLaunch Mail, Stripe with Gateway, capturing is imperative. We've got so many ways to do that. We, of course, have MinuteLaunch Capture, that if you've got social media presence and you want to make it possible to get your thousands of people off, it's one click simple to create a campaign, paste the link, and rock and roll. I have this set up inside of a demo site. I've seen this, you've seen this a million times, but I can literally just give to a customer or for myself a series of links for their social media that every time they post a video or they post something in Instagram, whatever, it gets the audience off of there and into their CRM. So here's one for like Chris Fallon. I've created with one click for his brand by detecting his website and his YouTube channel. And then it's allowed me to customize this thing. For Chris, I give him this URL, which gives these links here. So if I show you what Chris would get from me, he gets a very simple thing that lets him get all of the links. And if he uses any of those links in his videos, ta-da, the person gets a lead magnet of any kind, and it could be office hours at testing.com. That person instantly is given access to a lead magnet reward for whatever he's saying in there. Plus, they're added to the list, which is a big deal, inside of Chris's FluentCRM or inside of your FluentCRM. So here is the contacts, and we should have office hours testing. Notice the person still has send double opt-in email. We're waiting to validate that email so you don't end up with a list of 10 billion fake emails. But there's a tag, campaign Chris Fallon, and there's another one that says source of YouTube. So I know everything I need to know about that person, and if it does develop into a relationship, I can continue to pull everybody out of these socials where I'm posting these UGC videos. If you have other AI tools with no map or app for interfacing, can I use the impersonator agent that I can give my login? I don't know if I understand that question. If you have other AI tools with no map or app for interfacing, the tools that will work with this connection bundle, I've tested it. Anything in Anthropic will work. Any desktop tool will work. Perplexity does not work. Gemini will work in limited capacity if you have a desktop tool. OpenAI will work in a desktop if you have ChatGPT desktop. They will not work in their browser environments. Here's why. In order to connect, they have to have a tool called Bash, which is a terminal type tool. Anthropic is very progressive. I love them for this. They built, even in their browser tool, an environment that's like a terminal, so it can use the REST API walkie-talkie to talk to the site. Many of the other frontier models do not have that. We still do have Fluent MCP. So if you were, for example, trying to connect to another tool, we have the Fluent MCP, which you can connect and set up, but you're still not going to connect directly to the WordPress website. Instead, what you could do is you could set up the MCP to your desktop talks to that tool, and your desktop acts as the bridge. You see what I mean? You're going to have your desktop guy do it, and then your desktop guy will post it up. The limits of other companies are outside my scope, of course, but we're all racing for the similar outcome. All right, so I showed you budget caps. I showed you right model for right job, right? Like you do not need to have a $60 round trip model to do basic editing or to check your email. You just simply do not need to do that. You can use, even here, I'm using this guy, right? Who's pretty smart, but like, I don't need that smart of a guy to do what's happening, right? And I'm just going to tell him to finish it up. Yeah, go ahead and do it so I can show everybody you cleaned up my email box. So he was asking me, he's very cautious, but you can use less than Opus here, but this is like pennies of interaction. There's really no hardcore lifting. Where you get into big bills is when you're producing lots of stuff. Okay, so I would use this as part of my daily experience. And I think more and more, I'm probably going to bring this inbound, and I'll use Fernando in the site. The difficulty Fernando in the site has had in the past is that in order to do this job, he has to see the browser or he has to have an API connection to Gmail. I'm just taking advantage of the free ride on Anthropic's tools. Why do I need to create an open auth connector to Gmail when Anthropic's giving me one for free? All I care about is that whichever tool does the job syncs back to my site, which is what I've been able to achieve. So notice he cleaned up my whole box. I got no inbox left. I have the other stuff that was still kept here. And I could tell him, go ahead and make a list of items for me to do in the task list of Gmail so that I can get to them later. Ta-da. Now, I can save this as a skill using the same sort of connectors we talked about before at the bottom here. One of these buttons here, teach Claude, and this goes to connectors. I can teach him how to do this regularly, so he'll just say, do the morning mail. Notice what he's doing. I'm not moving the mouse. He's moving the mouse. He's setting up a list of to-do items for me. And I think this is really, not overstating it, this is like really time-saving. I don't know how many emails you get. I get 300 to 500 emails a day on a typical day. 90% of them give me analysis paralysis anxiety. Like, what do I need to do this? Well, I got to do this yesterday. Oh my God. Things like, my kid's school needs the fee paid or the hockey sign up. But this is how I can solve those problems without having to actually spend the time myself. And I think this is a highest and best use case where the risk is fairly low compared to go to my bank and take out $1,000. We can control the right model for the right job. And I showed you we can also do user by user. So we have the controls in MinuteLaunch where you can set by user, not just which model budget they have, but what's the cap, which is a really useful tool if, let's say, you have a bunch of team members and dad gave out allowance that says, you got 20 bucks to spend, and your teenager is like 2,000. What did you say? So you can go over here and see usage for actual users, but you can also set up budgets by month or per user. Okay, kids, you got, $15 to spend this month. Okay. It's a global user thing, but it's fine. And you can set up which models if you want to as well. So it's a really helpful tool to keep your open router budget under control, which, by the way, it's amazing how far you can go on open router with the right model versus a frontier model, except when you're in the frontier model's home base, which is awesome. They've subsidized it so much that, like, when I have my $200 Claude Ultra or Anthropic Ultra, I've never run out of tokens. In Cursor on my desktop using the same Anthropic tools, I always run out. In fact, I just ran out today. It switched me back to using the default model, which is not too bad. It's Grok 4.5.2. But it's kind of like, I'm not going to spend another dime on Cursor anymore because last month I spent $2,000 in overages to use Anthropic stuff. That's why I built this tool. Why not just connect Claude and have all the heavy lifting done directly? So everything is saved, nothing is trapped, backed up by GitHub. Fernando knows exactly where you left off, no matter which tool you're using. It lives and breathes on a WordPress site you own, which, by the way, has automatic daily backups, security by Cloudflare Enterprise if you're hosted with me through Rocket. It's bulletproof top to bottom as much as you can have it without you being a technical expert. So I'm not selling you guys because all of you guys are already members, but the idea is for everybody else, it's $97 a month to self-host, better $197 a month hosted with all the accoutrements and backups and security. Plugin Manager is free to connect any of your tools. That's my gift to WordPress. And the link goes here to MinuteLaunch, where you can literally just click minutelaunch.com/ML to download, and the plugin installs. That's probably the only plugin you'll need, by the way. I've done that many times, including, I think last time I was on this demo site, I demonstrated how quickly we were able to set up the whole site with an intake form and FluentCRM in like 3 minutes, right? So at test.com. This is not using any kind of custom forms. It's a security check because I'm probably just not logged in. But the idea is this connected to that site where we had FluentCRM, and even in a free setup, did the page building, did the FluentCRM connection, added the form that allowed contacts to be added, and magic ensued, all for free. The extra tools are on top of that. Last but not least, because I'm at 11 o'clock, MinuteLaunch Persona to get set up. I'm not going to go into the full Monty of this, but MinuteLaunch Persona to get set up is really, really easy, but there's a lot going on under the hood. But the good news is I've been doing some crazy stuff with this and been doing it remotely. So for example, if I'm even in the browser, I can use projects, as I talked about. Here's a couple client stuff. I can use projects in the browser, projects in the desktop. When I do the projects, I can have the actual work that's being done remotely with the other tools. So I think this might be where I'm working right now with some of Mark's stuff. That's not the one. This is the one. I think I have it here where I'm having it produce some of the videos. And the reason that this is kind of cool is it's producing the pages and the videos remotely using the connectivity of MinuteLaunch Persona, and it's putting them into this page that I'm going to share with you. And I'm not showing anything particular because it's Mark or whatever. I could show Ink and Law. These are just real world situations, but I want to show you why this is so awesome as far as time savings. So he created an archive page for all the content he's producing, which are some social media spots that I've programmed to use with the tools that I'm describing. Having him create the videos according to script and plan, plus all of the pages with this content and the call to action means that this morning, we're going to be publishing these to social. They are making an offer on a physical and a digital product. Okay. Didn't do any of these directly. These were all done through my editorial, directorial setup, including the creation of the videos, which are really awesome. These themselves get put into through MinuteLaunch Social, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube Shorts, whatever. They have a message that resonates. In this case, this is about the fact that the animal is stealing the vibe, and they should get 2 vibes and use the portal for both. This one in particular is funny because you can kind of see, even though you can't hear it through this StreamYard, this is with caption. So like the dog took the vibe, and here comes Mark. And this format is working really well. You can come up with your own format, but for my customers, my creativity indicates that this is going to work really well. And for selling stuff, this kind of lighthearted humor works, even if you're talking about something like a legal situation, like an attorney. All right. So the takeaway is all of these things that we're doing today are done starting for free with any tools that you want. A typical day for me is less about me actually moving levers and more about me speaking, which is why my voice is oftentimes shot. I have a tool that lets me type very fast if I do type, but I also record everything I say. So if I'm speaking, that's best. If I can't speak, I type very fast. It corrects it. Fernando, in any capacity, works to connect to the hub that I have at MinuteLaunch or my other client sites. The work that's produced includes everything from email to video to audio to media, social sharing. It tracks everything it does. It keeps it synchronized to the cloud. And it also tracks, as we've seen, like performance of, are these sales funnels working? Are people buying? What are they doing? Why are they doing it? Analyzing why. When it creates things, it creates an agenda that we can follow. All of these are how you're going to be working. And I will suggest to you that this is also what makes you very attractive to clients and customers. Many of my clients and customers are the smartest people in the world, literally. from billionaires to the space shuttle chief engineer. The point is they need help with getting into this new world. And so that's been my personal mission, is to say there is a better way for all of us. Because when I was a kid growing up with the Jetsons and other cartoons and sci-fi like Star Wars and Star Trek, we were promised that the world was going to be better, easier, that we were going to have more human relationships and less work. So this is my contribution to that end. I think we can democratize the tools, make them work with us and for us, not replace us. And in doing so, have more time to have really beneficial human relationships and lives and health and happiness. So I love all you guys. Thanks for taking the time today. I have to save a little of my voice for this call. Put an ice pack on my head, maybe walk around. Fernando will be in touch. But the good news is the stack continues to grow. The capabilities grow. If you are not already a VIP customer of mine, I highly suggest now is a great time to do it. If you are a VIP, I would highly suggest you follow me into this direction, which is helping customers that you know, from contractors to enterprise, to bring them and their businesses into the new world, because we're all going there together. I'll see you on the next video.